I'm going to press record. Recording in progress. Okay, so let me just have my sip of coffee. Oh, what is that? I can't even read it. Oh,
Okay.
area of betches I saw.
I was like, whatever, bitches, and the bitches whatevered.
Love that. That's a gooder right there. Okay. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome, everyone, to the Equine Connection podcast. We are so very excited because we have one of our most amazing facilitators with us who lives in the US of A, but she's not from the US of A. She's actually from Australia. So it's kind of a cool situation and how she discovered and found us. So you're going to be meeting beautiful Genevieve Nicholas, and she's just going to share with us some of the things that she has been doing since she has become certified as an equine assisted learning facilitator. I'm like, equine assisted, is that right? And as you all know, listening to our podcast, you know how my brain works. It goes in, it goes out. It retained not a lot of stuff. So anywho, let's get on with this wonderful podcast. So first of all, Genevieve, why don't you introduce everybody who you are, where you're from, how you even got into this, and of course, what's your goal?
Wow, what an introduction. So thanks, Carrie, for having me on today. I'm super excited to be here with you and to share a little bit about my journey in the equine assisted learning process, journey, chapter, life. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's so much fun. So again, my name is Jen Nicholas. I am an Australian. However, I live in the US of A. As Carrie said, I live in Dallas, Texas. And this has been an amazing journey because, as Carrie says, you don't know what you know until you know. And that's pretty much how this came about. So my whole background has been corporate and things like that, but horses have always factored into my life in some shape, way, or form. I completely have this undying passion for horses, and all I really knew about how to be with horses was riding. So for most of my younger years, I rode, and then in my latter or in my middle part of my life journey, horses unfortunately weren't factored into that, but they were still a passion in the background. So business took over, family life took over, and I am now a wife and a mother of two grown children, grown as in age. We'll leave it at that. But we love them dearly.
Yeah.
So we love them dearly.
Yeah.
So anywho, and of course, you know, I've got a lot of beautiful fur babies in my stable and in my home as well. So along the way, we moved to the United States about 10 and a half years ago, and I started it was an unconscious decision to start a personal growth journey. And again, you know, not really, I was very unsettled. I wasn't for the first time in a long time, I couldn't work. And that was due to living here. And so I finished off a second degree, settled my kids in, and started doing some form of work when I could work, but you know, nothing was really landing very well. Nothing was sticking. And I was feeling very unsatisfied in where my life direction was going. So hence the exploration or start of this personal growth journey, which started with a 5-day free money mindset challenge, which was very interesting. I mean, don't even ask me how I was led to that, but I was led to that. So hence that was the beginning of the whole foray. And, you know, once I got into and delved into some of that, there was a lot of really interesting things that came out of it, because it was very much about mindset. And that really started to spark some interest in me in terms of who am I? What do I want to do? Where am I going? And again, that journey really took a good couple of years. I engaged a couple of life coaches along the way. And let me tell you, I'd never heard of a life coach in my entire life before this time. Never heard of the word or the title or anything in Australia, nothing. So I had no idea what a life coach was. Anywho, again, that there were lots of different steps and in terms of the process, which led me to eventually sort of start to lean into the fact that I really love helping people. One of the things in my whole career, what brought me the greatest joy was training, mentoring, and watching people that I had a lot of input in terms of where they were going in their direction, watch them grow and fly, just like little birds leaving the nest. It was fantastic. And when my husband and I owned our own businesses in Australia, we ended up with 300 more children, as I like to call them. And, watching some of our staff go from cooks to become managers of our business was just purely, it was just so amazing and so heartwarming. So, again, there was that passion of really helping people. So I leaned into becoming a certified life coach. And of course, at the time that I had decided to become that, COVID hit. And we all know what COVID did. It was kind of like a full stop in everything. Everything changed. We've all heard it before. The world changed. Everything changed. Everybody's lives changed. But for me, it was actually a really good turning point. It was actually fantastic to be able to stop the carousel. I mean, I always used to say, can we please just stop the carousel for a minute and let me catch up? And I embraced it, to be honest with you. And, funny, just a little backtrack in that, prior to that, I actually had made a decision in part of that personal growth journey leading up to, when I decided to certify as a life coach, I decided to get back in the saddle. And and I had made that goal a goal to do that by the time I hit 50. And I did it by the time I was 48. And I was so excited to just get back into riding again and really just enjoy being around horses. And also partway through that, I ended up leasing my very first horse. So I'd never owned a horse in my entire life, no matter how much I wished and prayed and all the other things. My parents didn't buy me a horse, although I went to horse camps and horse riding and blah, blah, blah. But I was so excited. This was my first step into the whole, I partly got a horse without the whole horse full costs. And it was so exciting. And I actually ended up even riding in my very first official showings. I was riding dressage, and it's not my favorite part of riding. I typically have always loved jumping, but I don't bounce very well, as I have found out in my, older years. So I had to decide, well, if I'm not going to bounce, what else can I do? And that was sort of the dressage world. So I rode in my first shows. I had so much fun. But again, part of this journey of growth, I wasn't really enjoying the riding portion, which was really interesting because I thought that's what I just wanted to be around horses. I thought that was the thing. And what I realized was my most favorite time with the horses was when I had finished riding. I'd hose them down and I was just sitting with them. I was sitting in the grass while they're grazing and they're drying off. And I just loved those moments. They were my most favorite. So hold that thought. I certify as a life coach. We go through COVID, obviously. That was so much fun. Wow, what an amazing growth that was, even just for me going through that 6 months of training. And I started to get some clients, and they were women, and predominantly it was all business orientated, funnily enough, because that is my background. So I was really enjoying, coaching these women and holding some group coachings with some girls that I knew, and working through, mindset stuff and goal setting, etc. But again, there was still something missing. And I started to think about, well, what would it look like if I could somehow mesh horses into my life coaching and bring the two together? What could that look like? Now, again, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was even trying to look for here. I Googled up the wazoo and I still couldn't come up with what it was. Really, the only things that kind of came up was equine therapy. And, when I looked into that, that wasn't really the place that I wanted to lean into. I didn't want to go through another, numerous years of degrees to become a mental health professional. That wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I kept looking. And then funnily enough, a coach that I had been following for years, who is in Austin and I have since worked with numerous times, she saw a picture of mine on social media and I was with one of the horses and she said, oh my gosh, I have to introduce you to my client who lives in Canada. And I said, okay, great. So she did, and we started chatting and I learned that she had actually certified through the Equine Connection. Wow, what a turnabout. What a turnabout. So anywho, once I spoke to her and I looked into the Equine Connection, and of course I spoke to you, Kerry, and I spoke to Carolyn, and it was just, I thought, wow, I found my thing. Like, this is it. And this was even before I had, given you my credit card and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. Take my money. I don't know where I'll find the money, but just take it. Yeah, I'm in. And even before that, I had sort of, after talking with you guys and researching it, going, yeah, this is the thing. And then once I finally dived in and we started that 5-day training, I mean, honestly, talk about blown away. Never have I ever undergone any kind of training, and I have done a lot, let me tell you. Have I ever been part of something where the delivery is so much more than what I expected? So you guys really do over deliver, and I am so grateful for that. Everything that I have received from you guys has been amazing. So that was 2 years ago. And when I did that certification, I had no horses. I still was riding and leasing. I had no horses. I didn't know what the heck was going to happen and how this was going to work, but I was sure could be that it would work. So that was September of 21.
Wow.
And here we are, I know. And here we are in nearly 2 years to the date. I mean, we're just a few weeks shy of that. And I have 5 horses and I'm running programs. So Who knew?
That's phenomenal. Hey, Jen, what is your company name?
Saddle Up Life Skills.
Oh, I like that. Saddle Up.
Yes.
That
yes.
is great.
Yes.
So I love how, it's so interesting because, of course, most of this market in the equine assisted learning field is mainly women. Like, we are looking at probably, 95% women, 5% men. But, even though all of our stories are so very different, the thing that's very similar is we were aching or needing something for a destiny, a purpose, more passion, but it all related to helping another human being. And then you just didn't know, how do you bring, like you say, the horses into everything that we want to do to help humans? So I loved hearing how the path was open for you and it kept just guiding you to this position. And before I ask you a couple more questions here, the one thing I have to tell you, like we give you everything to be successful. The only reason, to me, anyone would not be successful is you're not doing the action that it takes to get to that success, because we give you everything. We help you, we support you along the way, but you still have to always do the action. It just doesn't come to you by meditating, right? So Jen, she goes out. Now, this has blown the Equine Connection's mind. She does her first program from her vehicle. So she opens up the trunk or the hatchback. She's got her flip chart. She's in this little piece of a field. And that is the action that it took to get her moving forward. So that, my dear, we have always highly been so impressed with that, because how many people, people always say, but I don't have this, I don't have the right facility, I'm not set up. No, you just go do, and then things keep happening. So even knowing that, I loved what you had said too, for even how to market. But the most important thing that I loved what you say is how to market yourself, because when you understand how to market yourself, that's the connection to your clients. So how did you get to the place? Because what you have now created in this pilot program, which we will talk about, is most exciting. So how did you do it? Like, what were the keys for you to understand it's about you first before your clients?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I took a lot, obviously, from what I learned from your trainings, and of course, everything I knew from my corporate trainings, way back. And one of the things and I've had numerous businesses before, so one of the things I, really had to lean in and look at, and this was very difficult, of course, too, when you sort of have to look yourself in the face. It's never easy, but I had to really take a good hard look at that and go, why did I stall at, pardon the pun, because of course here's a horse pun, why did I stall? Why did I stall and not necessarily kind of jump over this peak with some of my other businesses? And, obviously there's there's a lot of factors in that, but I think the key here for me has been that I wasn't passionate enough. I wasn't excited enough. I didn't love it so much, and it didn't land as well as this has, because this is the very first time that I've actually gone and said to myself, this is it. I found what I want to do when I grow up. 54 years old, I finally realized what I want to be, who I want to be. So, we've all heard it. We've all heard it in podcasts, and we've read it in books, where people have gone, when you find that why or whatever it is that drives you. And I could never kind of get that. I never had a why that made me cry. And I don't know that I necessarily cry at my why now. And I'm not ashamed of saying that either, because everything lands differently with everyone. But I know in my heart of hearts that I am so soulfully happy. And I don't know if soulfully is the right English word, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I like to make up words. So I am soulfully happy. I mean, every time I am with my horses and I'm running a program, or I'm just with them per se, I know in my heart of hearts, this is where I'm meant to be. And that in itself is the driving force behind, why I'm continuing to move forward. I mean, we all know running a business is not easy. If it was, everyone would be doing it.
Exactly.
So, and we all hit, challenges along the way. But, I'm 2 years into this now, and, still growing. I still want to say that, I'm at the toddler stage. I'm at least walking. Bit clumsy, but I'm walking. And that's great. Like, I'm excited about that. And but this to me is how you kind of know that, getting, when you say you've got to do the action, for me, doing it, the doing part was not scary anymore. And it was in the past, if I look back and reflect upon that. There was fear, don't get me wrong. There was nerves and all the other stuff that goes along with it. But I just dived in and I did it.
I love that. Now, so you have a beautiful, amazing program that's called Discovering You. And I even hearing the title of the programming that you are doing with humans gets me excited, because I feel it, even just from the title of it. But even this, now understanding you've got your passion, what you're wanting to do, you feel energized with some fear. There's nothing wrong with having the fear piece, because I think it just makes us as humans want to do the best that we can. So I always think that's a great component to have, but the key still is you still got to walk through that fear and continually keep doing it. So this discovering you, though, is in a market that I personally wouldn't have thought for you, because it's not about me being from the corporate background. It's interesting where now you have gone to. So I'm going to let you tell everybody the market that you've gone to, because of everything that you know about you and why you chose this, and tell us about discovering you.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I think, when we dive into that marketing piece, we always talk about, what's your niche. And we know equine assisted learning is for everybody. Everybody on this planet can benefit from equine assisted learning. However, you can't market to everyone, as we know. So you do have to niche. So, it really comes down to identifying, who are my passion subjects, clients, who do I really want to work with? And again, very broad when I say this, it was women and teenage girls. That's a really broad spectrum, but at least, I've narrowed it down. And again, not to say I won't work with men or young men, not at all, but I have to market to a group. So it was women and teen girls. And originally, that marketing piece came from my part-time job. I'm in front of a lot of women, predominantly, in my age group, which is, that's sort of between late 30s up to, mid 60s, 70s. And it's a really interesting group when you start to think about where they're at in life and what's going on, etc. So originally that was my main marketing point. So I dived, headlong into Marketing Authentic You, which is our 4-hour workshop for women, and completely loved providing that as a workshop, loved the women coming into it. So many amazing things came out of those sessions for those women, and even myself, from a learning and growth point of view, because again, we're always learning, and if we're not learning, we're dead. So and Carrie, you love to talk about being dead, because that's a cycle of life. Cycle of life. So anyway, had to throw that in for you.
Good girl.
Yeah. So anywho, but after running, about 6 workshops, I started to think, okay, what is this starting to look like? I really need to expand my network. And again, there's some fear here, because this is not something that I've really leaned into a lot. Going to networking meetings, and we all kind of hear what that everybody feels differently, or how that's going to land for you, what conjures up when you think networking meetings. Okay. And I have been to a few in the past, and haven't really enjoyed them. It felt like going back to high school and that whole cliquey kind of thing. And it made me feel a bit icky. But with that being said, I decided to lean into who if I want to help teen girls, and there is a backstory, and people can read this on my website in terms of why I do what I do. But mental health is a big part of my life, and it's a big part of my family's life. So I wanted to sort of lean into that mental health network, and I wanted to see what that could look like, because I fully believe, and having worked with a number of clients now that have been referred to me through the mental health networking groups that I have been involved with, I truly believe there's a lot of benefit for equine assisted learning to be a supportive outpatient program in their journey of discovery into their new way of being. Yes, correct. Yeah. So with that being said, I decided who do I speak to? Like who do I know right now that can perhaps introduce me to some people? And that's what I did last November. Well, actually, no, it wasn't November. I think could have been September. 1 year. What? September seems to ring true to me. I don't know why. Yeah. So anyway, I'm pretty sure it was September. I sat down with with somebody that I know, and I asked her for some referrals in terms of who do you know. I explained what I did. She happens to also be a horse person, so she understands the power of horses, even though she works in the mental health field, and her horse is for her personal use. So that was kind of good anyway. And really from there, from her introducing me to people, I then reached out to those people and I set up meetings and we had lunches. Then I was introduced to somebody else who then decided they wanted to do a networking breakfast and invite other mental health professionals out to where I was, where I'm currently situated now in Aubrey, Texas.
Nice.
So that was November of last year. We had a fantastic turnout where basically I think there was about 15 mental health professionals that came out one morning. One of the mental health organizations sponsored the breakfast. I set up the arena. I grabbed 3 of them and did an impromptu, just one exercise go through where everybody could watch that. I said, we're all in a safe place. You guys are all mental health professionals. I'm sure you feel quite okay with the whole way this is working. But typically we don't have spectators when we are doing these programs. Right. So just so that they could understand the dynamic. And so we did that. We followed, it was probably a very shortened version of what we would follow in a typical EAL, equine assisted learning session, because we don't use the acronym. But it was fantastic. They got to visualize it. 3 of them got to actually do it in person. We did the debrief and we chose our, as I call them, the discovery words. What did you discover about yourself in the arena? And they chose their discovery words and they shared them with the group. And the group even had their own takeaways, even just as spectators. So it was fantastic. And basically from that point onwards, I have been constantly meeting new people. I have been going to networking events in the mental health world, so to speak. And it did feel a bit funny to begin with because, when you go around a networking kind of meeting, everybody stands up and gives their, 5-second, who am I, who do I work for, who do we serve? And here I am going, okay, I'm not a mental health, therapist. I'm not part of this organization or that one. Hi, I'm Jen from Saddle Up Life Skills. We offer experiential hands-on learning for teenage girls and women. And, we'd like to be part of this supportive outpatient programs that, you may offer. And I'm like, okay, but I tell you, it's been received so well. The community that I am a part of is absolutely phenomenal. I totally love networking in this, and I have met some amazing people who I now call my friends. Oh, wow. And I have a beautiful circle who support me. They are constantly providing me with referrals, and they have given me some amazing opportunities to become a vendor at a couple of events that are coming up. One is a mental health conference coming up in October. And that is with, in conjunction with not only one of the private schools here who's running it, Fusion Academy, but also Region 11, which is one of the big school districts. And there's a lot of people in that. And I've been given the opportunity to be a vendor and part of that particular conference. So, that's phenomenal where this has taken me. And again, it was really it came from sitting down with one person who I asked, who do you know, to now I've gone to this. So coming back to how did Discovering You come about, I actually wanted to offer I'll call it a pilot program to mental health professionals, because it's not only the people that are in recovery or undergoing, recovery for whatever they're dealing with, but the mental health professionals need an outlet too. They need to know that they have something for them, because I know they're trained not to take everything on and not to take everything home, but they're human beings as well. And things land with them. They still feel, think, be just like any other human, despite what it is that you are, what your profession is. So I wanted to offer this to my network. and I offered a pilot program of 6 weeks and put together the curriculum around I brought in some of our 12-week curriculum into that 6 weeks, plus a few of the other programs that I had purchased along the way. And I devised a program that predominantly centered around, them, like leaning into who they are and what they need. And this became my Friday night women's group. We had 5 women that signed up for this. They were all, well, they weren't all mental health professionals. One was head of school of Fusion Academy. And the others, one was in business development for one of the mental health organizations, and a couple others were therapists as well. So it was a kind of a mixed bag, but it really was a phenomenal 6 weeks. These women totally loved their Friday nights with me. They said it was the best way to end the week. There were tears. Every week somebody different was crying and releasing, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh.
So yeah, so that's Discovering You, really came about just because I started to think differently. It wasn't just about who could I serve that were clients, but let's think outside of the box and go, well, hang on a second, I'm interacting with these people every day. They need something too. So why not offer this to them?
Oh my goodness gracious. Like, again, everything that you're saying and how you've discovered for yourself and those clients, and to be able to be in a network that is like-minded and moving forward and helping these beautiful, well, children. I know they're young women, but they still are, to build those skills before they even hit. I know they think it's terrible times when you're teenagers, but it's actually gets harder as we move along. So it's so beautiful. You're helping to create those strong life skills moving forward. Now, for anybody who's been listening to this podcast, Genevieve and Jen, I know you call Jen, but I love your name, Genevieve. It's just so beautiful and outstanding. Tell the people how they can find you and your programs, your website, any of your social media platforms. We'll also post them up later as well, but give them all the info, because I know they're going to want to know where to find you.
Sure, thank you. Well, you can find me on my website, which is www.saddleuplifeskills.com. Everything that I offer is on there, but then again, that's not the be all and end all. Please reach out to me if there's something that you're looking for that I don't particularly have advertised, because I definitely take a leaf out of the Equine Connection and Kerry's book. I try to over deliver where I can always. So have a look at that. Reach out to me. I'm always accessible by phone, 972-632-7149. If anyone wants to text me or call me. You can find me on Facebook. My Facebook business page is Saddle Up Life Skills. You can find me on Instagram. Again, it's at Saddle Up Life Skills. And I am also on LinkedIn. You will find me on LinkedIn as Genevieve Nicholas. I don't have a business page at this point, so I'm just, here I am me. I am the face of Saddle Up Life Skills. So predominantly, it's either Genevieve Nicholas or Saddle Up Life Skills. Wherever you want to, you can Google either one. You'll find me somehow.
Hey, that is so wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing this morning. I think that's the best part of all of us in an equine industry field, is the more we share, the more we work together, the more we make other humans aware of what the heck it is that we do, the better we all move together. Because it is like in our industry, any of the equine, we are teeny weeny, and learning from a horse, well, we all know it's one of the greatest ways to move forward versus another human just telling you what needs to happen. And don't get me wrong, I believe in all things that help us to move forward, but sometimes just being in the presence of that horse and the horse talking to that human allows the human to find those answers that are deep inside, and how they are beautiful and they are gifted and they are unique to take those challenges on that life gives to us every day we live and breathe. So kudos to you, my friend. You have done an
Thank you.
amazing job, and we cannot wait to get you out there in the world. And you have an amazing day. Anything you want to end with?
No, I think I think the only thing I can say is that, just no matter, just lean into your curiosity. If you're just even a little bit curious about this, be like a horse and just ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. So lean into this, explore it. All of us out there in the equine assisted learning field that have certified through the Equine Connection, we are all happy to help and serve in any which way we can. And I know I can speak for the rest of our community by saying that. So we're everywhere. We're all over the United States. We're all over Canada. We're in Europe. We're in Australia. So anybody who's listening to this, you owe it to yourselves to at least explore this as another option, because not everything lands the same way for everybody. And sometimes we need something a little bit different. And maybe equine assisted learning is going to be the piece that you didn't know you needed until you knew.
Beautiful. Thank you so much again, Genevieve, Jan.
Thanks, Carrie.
Have an amazing day, everybody.